Howdy ho, everybody. I am Donut. I'm here with my fiance.
They're mates.
I have seen South Park season 20-something.
I'm watching it blinds.
This is, of course, a Black Lives Matter, all cops are bastards, and trans rights supporting channel. If you don't believe that, get the fuck out of here. This is season 6. Once again, I was about to say season 1. Season 6, episode 4, Fun with Veal.
Still no idea.
Okay. I assume you know what Veal is.
I do.
Okay. I know what Veal is, well, I mean, we'll leave it to the episode. I don't know if there's... Rude. I was gonna say, for anybody who might not know what Veal is.
Right.
But I feel like
the episode should say it.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
So that was let's just redo that. Howdy ho, everybody. I am Donut, and I'm here with my fiance.
They're mates.
I have seen South Park season 20-something.
I'm watching it blinds.
This is, of course, a Black Lives Matter, all cops are bastards, and trans rights supporting channel. If you don't believe that, you can get the fuck out of here. This is season 6, episode 4, Fun with Veal. Predictions?
I mean, maybe the boys befriend a tiny little cow, and they're like, "Oh, this cow is our friend," and then they're like, "No, but we have to sell the cow because it's delicious."
They have to say. I feel like that's more of a Cartman.
Yeah, I guess it would be the boys, including Cartman, adopt this cow, and they're like, "We love it," but then Cartman's like, "I want to eat it."
All right, let's get into this episode. If you want to see the full length, check it out for $4 a month. So, what would you rate this episode?
I'll give it a solid 6 out of 10.
Okay. I think I'll give this also 6 out of 10. I really like the story structure of it. It really makes Stan feel like a main character for half of it. And then the other half, he's just, out of commission.
Yeah, that felt like a very... There's a weird sense of laziness there. It feels like the guys were like, okay, we're going to be able to write half this episode with a really good Stan, but we don't know what to do for the second half.
I mean, I can say that is accurate. They did write this whole episode and then go, crap, this episode feels like we're saying don't eat meat. We need to put something in here.
This again?
Yep.
I hate it.
They needed to put something in there to say, oh no, we don't want you to not eat meat. We just don't want you to eat baby cow. So that is why that probably feels a little bit weird. Yeah. But I also agree. That's why I give it a 6 out of 10. That part of it is very forced. It is.
Yeah.
It is extremely obviously put in last minute or exactly what you just said. But aside from that, I really like Stan taking a role, even as the other times where he's been quote unquote kind of the main character, in Aspen was a good example also. But that was the story happening to him. Yeah. Whereas this is him happening to the story.
Right.
And so, I'm glad we got, a very strong episode with that.
Yeah. I was also hoping he would be, anti-meat going forward, because I think that would just be, an extra thing for his character that none of the other boys, do.
Yeah, it would have been, it would have differentiated him more from Kyle as well.
Yeah, because that's the main problem now, is just, I feel like Kyle is more developed and Stan just kind of isn't.
Yeah. Their dynamic between the four of them works very well, but when you really try and think about them individually, Stan and Kyle are just too,
Yeah.
But they they started to make him different and then reversed it by the end. But
yeah.
But also I just Stan looked really good in that Mission Impossible outfit. Stan is such a he's so normal. There's nothing stand outish about his design. So him wearing different outfits is much different than when Cartman wears a different outfit, or even Kyle or Kenny. They're all these crazy outfits usually, or very extraordinary. Whereas Stan's is always subdued. Even the Halloween episodes where he's Raggedy Ann, it's very subdued. And I don't know. I wanted to point that out.
Yeah.
General, overall thoughts on the episode?
Overall, it's, touching on a couple of things they've kind of done already, but at the same time, it also feels weird as the first, post 9/11 terrorism episode.
That's a good point. I didn't think of it that way.
Yeah.
But you're right. It kind of is. even though this is very loosely about like terrorism, but more in the I mean, I guess so, but more like the hostage sort of situation.
Yeah.
Which I guess is, terrorism still. It's just not what people usually... People only talk about terrorism in that regard of, we don't negotiate with terrorists.
Yeah.
But, like, nobody ever actually calls them a terrorist because, like, the news or anything like that, because that would imply that the U.S. can be terrorists against themselves, which they can, which the news would not want to say.
Yeah.
So, you very rarely hear it in those terms, but it is true. They also, mentioned the John Walker thing. Are you familiar with that at all? Okay, let me get into some notes about this. I don't want to talk out my ass about that.
Please, hit me with that. I do recognize the name, but I don't recognize anything about the John Walker thing. Okay.
So, giving the cliff notes of this, I'm trying to, summarize a whole bunch of shit here. But he was a... He was an American who was caught during the invasion of Afghanistan. He was tortured a bunch in a prison, and then there was a battle of I'm going to try and pronounce this, Kala-i-Jang, or Kala-i-Jangi.
Okay.
Which was a violent uprising of Taliban prisoners, during which all but 86 of the 300 to 500 prisoners were killed, along with CIA officer Johnny Span.
Okay.
John Walker was, he was a prisoner there, being held and tortured and that. He denies being a part of the uprising in any way, but he was one of the 86 that survived. And he went on trial in America for the death of the CIA guy.
Okay.
And so he was sentenced to 20 years in prison for it. And the reason was, he pleaded not guilty to all of it, and then he was given a plea deal of, okay, you can plead guilty to 2 of the charges, and then you can, you're not allowed to say or talk about this at all for 20 years, and you go to prison for 20 years. And, you can't talk about it at all. Also, if you make it, after these 20 years, if you come out with a book that explains why you didn't do it, we get all the profits from that.
Okay!
It's Son of Sam laws.
Boy. I mean, yeah.
But, if they're shitty laws, but...
Yeah.
So, he's... It seems like he is extremely unbelievably lawfully, or unlawfully, being... Or unfairly being, jailed and all this sort of stuff. He was... the reason why he was going to trial was because of him, stuff that he said... The stuff that he, what am I trying to say? Confessed under torture.
Okay.
And they're it's he confessed that under torture. Stuff. And it's also, he was a prisoner of war, even if he was a part of the uprising. He's constantly says that he's not guilty of being a part of it at all, which also kind of makes sense if he's one of the 86 that lived.
Yeah.
But even if he was, so what? He's a prisoner of war. Fucking let him escape. It's insanely ridiculous. And of course, he is released from prison now from 2019. Finally got released. Still cannot talk about it at all. Is not allowed to use the internet at all. Is not allowed to something else. But not still because of the crimes, but simply because he still holds Islamic belief.
Wow.
Because he holds Islamic belief, he cannot use the internet.
Jesus Christ.
But so the main thing that they got him for 20 years for was, I carried a rifle and 2 grenades.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is insane.
I carried a rifle and 2 grenades. Yep, that's it.
Boy, also, I imagine South Park is going to have a lot of literal vagina is bad comedy.
Oh yeah,
and,
yeah. I don't know where do we begin to talk about that?
Right now, my current mental line is, I don't feel bad about the word pussy, but also that's not my place to be mad about.
Yeah.
But, when it crosses the line into literal vagina bad is it does genuinely bother me on a deep level.
I mean, I think even now still it feels like Trey and Matt have this like girls have cuties when they're in their like 40s. It's real weird. Like, not even like, you know, related to the show. I just mean like in general they feel like that's real weird. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's weird. They're weird. They're weird. I don't know what more to say about it other than like it's weird, they're weird, it's fucking I mean it's also, to be fair, a lot worse, you know, at this point. Like the language they use in the show definitely does change over time.
Okay.
You know, they say so much stuff that is not said in the show anymore ever.
Okay.
Just as like a, you know, it was acceptable to be edgy enough, or not acceptable, but, you know, it was never acceptable, but it was common.
Sure.
You know, you got away with it back then. And so I do think the show has, you know, changed in that over time. I can't think off the top of my head, but I am 90% sure that like in the later seasons, like none of the characters say like pussy as like an insult at all.
Okay.
I could be wrong, but I'm like 99% sure.
And like, I mean, part of the very nature of South Park is juvenile.
By the way, Cartman maybe.
Well, sure.
But yeah.
But yeah, the very nature of South Park is juvenile humor, so I don't expect them to not say pussy.
Yeah.
It's just like there's a layer above that where it is like, by the way, vagina bad.
I mean, even then, I think there is a, like, you know, I understand it at this time, but I'm glad in the show, you know, later on that they, you know, do not use, like, I don't know, I'm just glad that they don't, you know, use that language as much with the characters that you're supposed to be rooting for.
Sure.
You know, I'm fine with it when Mr. Garrison says, you know, shit like that, when Cartman says shit like that, or when it's like, you know, I don't know, there's a difference between, like, slurs and just, like, funny insults.
Sure.
Like, you know, nutsack is, like, Butter saying nutsack will always be one of the funniest things in the world to me. It's endlessly hilarious. You know, it's the same thing with like the you know, everybody saying shit on TV. Like, you know, it's a completely different, you know, sort of ball game entirely.
Yeah.
But I mean, how do you feel? I mean, you kind of already expressed it, but I mean, like,
yeah.
I just don't have anything else to add to that.
Not really. Like, when it comes to male genitalia as well, I have a similar thing of, like, a dick or nutsack. It feels somehow separate from the actual physical things.
I mean, it's also different because, you know, when you're calling somebody a nutsack, there's no, like, inherent what that means.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, if you're calling somebody a pussy, it is usually you were saying, like, you are, like, what is a good synonym for what people meant? Like, you are weak.
Yeah.
You are
cowardly.
Cowardly, yeah.
Yeah.
You are a woman.
Yeah. I mean, that is what makes it problematic.
Yeah. So, like, I think that is the difference, you know? When somebody's like, oh, you nutsack, they're not saying, like, oh, you man, you know? It is just saying, like, you know, oh, you word I can't, you know, word that is socially deemed bad to say.
Yeah.
Like, oh, fuck you. Nobody is saying that because they want to have sex with them. They're saying that because it's a word that is associated with being bad and rude.
Yeah.
But, yeah, so there's just such a difference there.
Agreed.
I don't know. What else am I going to say?
Do you like Michael Dorner?
I don't know who he is.
The only thing I can think of him doing is, in fact, Worf from Star Trek, so I do like him in that role.
Yeah. I was gonna say, like, how did you feel about Worf? But I don't know what kind of question that is.
I mean, this is definitely Michael Dorner and not Worf.
Yeah. But I mean, like, when he was first, like, come out, like, you were like, oh, that's a good Worf. Like,
yeah.
And that's what I was saying. Is he in character? I don't know.
Oh, no, he's not.
So when you meant, like, oh, that's just a good Michael Dorner impression.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a good impression, good visual design.
Yeah, it is. I don't know why, like, he was being involved in all this. He was part of the plan.
The boys, I guess, like Star Trek.
The boys love Star Trek. I don't know how I haven't picked up on that right now. The boys love Star Trek. But the hippies was also real weird. Like, it was again we're feeling like our message is to whatever, or to what are they trying to say? Like
we have to show both sides.
Not even that we have to show both sides, but like they were like we think that people's takeaway from this episode is going to be don't eat meat.
Right.
Which, like, it was also, you know, when Stan, like, I hadn't even remembered that aspect of this episode at all.
Okay.
Because it was also felt really forced to me when Stan, like, started getting the apples. He's like, no, now I'm not going to eat any meat. And I was like, that didn't seem to be what any of this was about at all.
Yeah.
Like, it felt so forced that they were making that a Stan thing at all.
Yeah.
So I kind of wish they would either have stuck with it or not done it at all. But doing this half in between is, again, the classic South Park wishy-washy, I don't want to take a stance.
Yeah. The hippies also felt weird because they didn't feel like they're bad.
Yeah.
It was just there are hippies here, and obviously Cartman hates them.
Yeah,
and the boys also vaguely don't like them. But
that
was
was
really
weird,
thing.
because, Cartman hates hippies.
Yeah.
That's been his thing since the beginning.
Yeah.
But the other boys was weird.
Mm-hmm.
But, I could also it went nowhere. There was no point to it.
They felt very edited in because then we see the crowd with the FBI again at night, and the hippies aren't there, but then they kind of are there, just not. You can't visually see them.
Yeah, I don't know. Carmen's mom is great, though.
Yeah.
Oh, I also loved the Sheila. My favorite joke might be Sheila going up to bang on the door and be like, come out, and Kyle just saying no, and Stan's on, just like, oh, great, Sheila, that worked so well. Also, Kyle calling his mom a bitch.
Yeah.
Oh, fantastic. Just seeing all even like Butters, stand up to his parents. Really refreshing seeing that happen.
Yeah. And I am very glad that, like, Cartman's mom didn't even make a vague attempt at acting like she cared.
Yeah.
Or, that she cared about, them rebelling.
Yeah, she did not at all.
Whenever the adults are, like, a group, but they're also all in character, I really like it.
It's the same.
They have a strong vibe of, like, they don't really have a lot of interpersonal stuff a lot of the time, apart from, just the occasional conflicts.
Yeah.
But I like seeing them as a group.
Yeah, they are that, like, we are friends by default because our kids are friends.
Yeah.
I guess I don't really have anything else to say about the episode. I could take a stance on, like, the meat,
Sure.
eating side of things.
I feel like we already have, though.
I feel like we already have.
Yeah.
But, like, being vegetarian or whatever, like, sure, be vegetarian, be vegan, be whatever. We shouldn't push that onto other people. We also shouldn't push, eating meat onto other people, too.
Yeah.
Like, that's really fucked up. You shouldn't push eating anything onto other people. If you can, don't eat meat. I do think that is the better thing to do.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to be, someone who's like, I eat meat all the time. To be fair, mine is more of a, like, stomach thing. Like, I have a very specific stomach. I can only eat very, very little things.
Yeah, and you do need meat.
So, yeah, but, like, also, like, people who say, like, oh, like, there are people who, absolutely, you can't, if you're eating meat at all, then you are a terrible person.
Right.
Which is, like, eating meat is not necessarily a terrible person. Sometimes you just have to do it to survive. Literally, like, indigenous people have to eat meat to survive. Or, a lot of places you live where, like, the vegetables and fruit and stuff is going to be 1,000 times more expensive than meat and everything. It's like, it's not possible sometimes to not eat meat, even if you are the kind of person who wants to.
Yeah.
So saying because you eat meat you are bad is awful. But also, in the other way around, you can have it as well, where getting meat is extremely expensive, but getting, vegetables and stuff is a lot cheaper, and it is a lot, like, even if they wanted to eat meat, it would be hard for them to eat meat.
Yeah.
It can go both ways. And so, really just let people, be people, as long as they are not an active part of the, as long as they're not, like, the rancher in this episode, then you're fine. I mean, to be fair, though, I do want to take a stance of, absolutely go fuck yourself if you're eating, like, veal.
Yeah.
Like,
like, there is a level of, like, is all meat suffering? But then on top of that, there is the meats that are exclusively suffering, like veal or like foie gras.
What's foie gras?
It's when, like, basically you force
I don't even know if I want to know this.
Basically, you force feed a duck until its liver gets super, super big and fatty and they die. And then you take that and you eat it.
Didn't want to know that. You know what? Shouldn't have asked.
But yeah, there are certain points where it is like, this meat is exclusively suffering.
Yeah.
And yeah,
So yeah, there's levels of bad, but just meat in general. Yeah, not bad.
Don't eat veal until we can make it in labs.
Yeah, honestly, like, eventually, hopefully, we will get to the place, like, where we can eat meat and not have to worry about the suffering of animals because it is lab meat.
Yeah.
I mean, we're already halfway there. We're getting there.
We are legitimately getting there. You can now buy meat that is like, it's textured like actual muscle tissue and it tastes like normal ass meat.
Yeah. I mean, the problem is with how expensive it is.
Yeah.
Which is, again, like, even when that is way down the line, years down the line, you know, where you don't have to eat, you know, any meat that's been through suffering, some people still are going to have to just because of cost.
Yeah.
So, you know, you're never going to fully be able to get rid of it, but we should absolutely be trying.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, I haven't tried one, but I've always wanted to try an Impossible Burger.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. But that's expensive as hell.
Yeah, it is.
See you guys for the next one, which is the new Terrence and Phillip movie trailer.
Oh!
We'll see you guys for that. Until then, get the fuck out of here.